Hey fellas, alright, so I got a new mic and I'm going to try it out, and people were saying that they couldn't hear me very well, so we're going to try this game out. I actually knocked the sound out of it, so you guys can give me an opinion whether I need to readjust this mic or not, or if it's too annoying to whatever. Just let me know. My other mic actually just finally took a shit because I have two boys that were playing air traffic controller, and apparently somebody didn't let them land their plane, and then there was a fight, and yeah, it ended up getting electrical tape back together and just not working very well. So, new Razer headset, and you guys let me know how this sounds. So the game, I'm bringing this game is just because, you know, not just as a test, but it was a really nice, tight, close game. The kind of games that you like to have anytime you play a game. You know, I'm playing with Arrow tonight. We are kind of playing an off here. I'm playing a multi-role energy fighter, and he's playing the Spitfire, you know, which is a very maneuverable aircraft. So we're kind of playing off each other a little bit with playstyle. I'm going to try to stay up a little bit higher at altitude. He's going to, of course, be able to turn and burn. So we're dropping in on the command center, and we're going to see if we can take this command center out. So, of course, we can get some bombers up and running. Got the first target up, Boomerang. Yeah, he takes a nice barrage of cannons to the shorts. So if you're not familiar with the Focke Wulf, this thing actually gets 420s and two 13 millimeters. So yeah, it's got a nice set of cannons on it, which allows it to, you know, if you get in on a tail of something, or if you have to deal with, say, ground attack planes or bombers and that stuff, it has the firepower to do that. And that's what you're actually going to see us here do. We're splitting up. He's going to go and actually escort bomber and try to knock out the fighters that, of course, try to attack him. And I'm going to play the role of bomber interdiction. I'm actually going to stop the bombers. And this is playing off our two play styles, being that I'm more capable of it than him with my altitude, plus the fact of the sheer amount of firepower that I carry. Where he's a little bit more maneuverable, you know, he can get into those fights with those guys that are, you know, like the other Spitfires and whatnot, or the Zeros and stuff. He has a little better chance than I do. So they're actually running into the a fair amount of fighter pilots or fighters down there, and it kind of turns into a little bit of a shit show. But I'm up here on the bombers. Flip over, and I'm going to try to stay in low health first, of course. I got some help here with the P-40. Made a nice pass on the first bomber, knocked most of his HP out, and knock him out right away. That leaves me one other bomber here. You know, and then the problem with, you know, of course, with the 20s, you always got to make sure you let them cool off a little bit. So I have, you know, you have to stop once in a while and just let it cool, and then attempt to do it again. A little too close. Pull around. I got a BF-109E actually coming in on one of my friendlies. I'm going to try to clear his 6. He actually ends up getting him, but he's going to try to play with me, and I flip over. He saw me turning, so he actually ended up turning toward me, which let my own P-40 come in on him, on his tail, and finish him off. Actually, in the dive, we eventually probably I would have eventually run away from him, just because the Focke Wulf's a little bit quicker. But thank goodness the P-40 was paying attention when he diverted his attention to me and off of him. So we are actually working once again right on top of this bomber formation. They have a little bit of an escort underneath. They can't get to altitude quite as well as we can. But we are up here, so we are ready to take on some bombers. And when I was talking about how good this game is, and that's literally what it was. This was an extremely tight game. It was back and forth, who was ahead, who wasn't ahead, and all that kind of stuff. It was a really fun game, and this is the kind of game that you get excited about, where there's a constant back and forth and all that kind of stuff. So get in here on the bombers, start peppering them. I got a P-40 with me. You know, between his machine guns and my cannons, these bombers really melt quick. Of course, I try not to shoot him as little as possible, but yeah, once in a while it kind of slips through. So 219, 207. Yeah, this is how tight it is. and this could literally flip very quickly, depending on who lets a bomber formation through and who doesn't. Fortunately for us, their bomber formation is right behind their airfield, so we've been kind of pushing fighters that way a little bit every time. Got a Spitfire that's low health, pull in on him, zoom and boom. Not really zoom and boom, but you know, get my point, tip over and give a shot to him. The 410's actually after one of my own players, so I'm going to get on his tail, try to help him out. Unfortunately, he does end him, but I end him in return. Back to altitude as much as possible because the bomber formation is coming. I tried XP's 44 is actually really low health, so I'm just going to actually take him out too. He's going to have to spawn on the other side of the map. This is what's nice about this part of the game right here, is that we actually spawning right next to one of their objectives, so our guys are all coming in strength, and being able to deal with that. Flip back up over here, flip back down on the low health, and just start pummeling him, putting him away. If any, like I said, anytime you lose one of these command centers with these bombers moving in like that, it's always a pain, especially in a close game like this. It could all go really bad with just one set of bombers getting through. They can turn it very quickly. Knock out that next set, and I'm actually kind of hurting here a little bit. I took some serious damage from those tail gunners. Flip back over. We got one more bomber set coming in, and you notice now that since we are spawning right next to this objective, we have a significant number of fighters that are headed to that airbase to knock it out, where they're mostly ignoring our command and attempting to knock out the bombers. We ended up taking that forward airbase from them, but at the same time they're also took the ones in the back. But at this point, I'm really not too worried about it. You know, there's of course guys at our command center right now, but these bombers are a much more important target, keeping them off of the command center. Flip back over, and I had a pretty good idea I was probably going to die in this little escapade, but you know what? Taking out these bombers as quick as possible was more important than whether or not I lived. Unfortunately, me and the 410 kind of end up together, and I'm not sure how quickly I died there. I was, for the most part, behind that other plane, but I don't know if it's weird sometimes how hard these bombers actually hit. So, respawning, and we're still really tight game. I believe we're only separated by 30 superiority points, which is pretty nice at this late into the game. You know, we're already almost 8 minutes into the game, and yeah, very tight game. About that time, I was once again heading for the bomber formation. I start yelling at Arrow that we have fighters over top of our command center, and there's nobody down here doing anything. Which at the time was not big a deal because we are actually attacking their command center, but it's always nice to you know, try to keep as many of these objectives as possible. So Arrow's making his way down here, and I'm just trying to knock out these guys. These guys are all human pilots, so I pull over, take a shot, miss him completely, pull out, and I actually saw those guys turning toward me on the rear end. He didn't care anymore, so I'm going to flip back over here, and of course I have incoming Spitfire 5. Yeah, this is the problem with going head to head with a Focke Wulf. It just doesn't work that well. Put a nice round into him. They've actually knocked out my engine, which is fortunate if I still had enough speed to get over, to get on top of this Corsair and finish him off. Arrow shows up. Unfortunately, he is getting pummeled pretty hard here, and of course my engine's still knocked to shit, so I wasn't able to get up there and actually help him finish this guy off. About that time, though, since he knocked down Arrow, they were able to switch the cap, or the objective, over. So we lose the command center to them, they lose our command center to them, and it's kind of a back and forth game. But you know, like I said, you can literally look at the superiority bar right now, and it's super tight. We are actually at the point now with the squall line that we only have actually one more aircraft to knock out, and then we gain air superiority. So we win. Good game from Arrow. This is one of those kid games that, like I said, in general are just a real fun game to play. So if you guys can hear me better, thanks. You know, leave a comment down below if you need me to change the mic, and then see if I can get some readjustment to it. So thanks, guys.